everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson coming to you live from way down in Alabama near Tuscaloosa. Okay, actually right across the river. So this is the Cassandra Williamson Show. It's part of the Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group side of things, because I do spend an awful lot of time on advocacy and activism and, legislative stuff and things like that, and, going after Project 2025. So I do want to say this disclaimer up front. First thing is, all the opinions expressed here are mine and mine alone. They do not reflect any particular organization, agency, department, government, anywhere, anyone, at any time. They are mine. All right. And also, if you're under the age of 18, it's time for you to go somewhere else. Leave. This show is not for you. Okay. So leave now, get out, take off, go do whatever you have to do. All right. Hang out with your family. Best thing. So, what we're going to talk about today, folks? Well, let's talk about Project 2025. Right there it is, the stuff we're talking about today. So we have people watching from all over the place these days, it seems like. Got Facebook, 2 accounts over on Facebook that we're broadcasting to. LinkedIn, we're over on LinkedIn, YouTube. There's 2 channels on YouTube. There's one on Twitch and one on Twitter. It's also on our website. You can just go there and look at under the home tab, and actually you'll find us live streaming right now. We're there. Okay, go check it out. So I'm trying to move my camera around to get it down where it's not looking down on top of me, I guess, but more directly at me. And maybe that'll help a little bit. I've been trying to learn the best way to do things around through here. So anyway, let's just jump right into this. Let's go over to present our screen. We're going to go right straight into the Project 2025 stuff. If you're with me, here we go. Where is it? It's not the File Explorer. Cancel. Hold on a minute. I know I've got it here. There it is. Okay, now hold on a minute. Let me go back to it to maximize the screen. Okay, let's present again. Let's go over here to this one. Go to the window, and we're going to look at this. All right, if you're not familiar with Project 2025, well, you should be if you've been watching anything or reading anything from me here over the past several months. Project 2025, first thing is that it is a project developed by and led by the Heritage Foundation, which is a 50-year-old ultra-far-right conservative organization. They didn't start out that way, but the current president of Heritage definitely took them in that direction. Dr. Kevin Roberts, who came out of a similar type organization down in Texas. Anyway, he has a PhD in early American history, and he has so far not responded to any of my comments or anything to him, or even when I was there in person last Tuesday of last week, that I walked in to see if I could talk with him, and, he wasn't available. It took 5 minutes to figure that out, but he wasn't available. Anyway, it was fun walking into that building, believe me. So Project 2025 is the brainchild out of the Heritage Foundation. Now, this is not the first iteration of it. They've done it a number of years in a row and stuff like that. Every presidential administration basically is what they've done. So the first time they did it was back in 1980. They put together this thing, and when President Reagan became president on January the 20th of 1981 at noon Eastern, when he goes, "So help me God," one of the first things that the Heritage Foundation handed over is this manual, this thing called Presidential Transition Project, or whatever it's called. Anyway, so they handed this over to him, but he had already bought into the thing before that. So he was able to get about 2/3 of it accomplished by the time 180 days had rolled around. And, Heritage considered that to be, a good win, but it was also a failure in that they didn't get everything they wanted accomplished in Reagan's first term and the first 180 days of his presidency. Now they worked on getting quite a bit more of it accomplished over the remaining 8 years of his term in office. But, they had a plan then. They wrote it all out. And every 4 years or so, they try to do the same kind of thing for an incoming conservative president. Anytime that person was there, they would try to do something along those lines. And also some other presidents as well, who were not in the conservative vein, but over on the Democratic side, who were more centrist. So they did that for quite a bit. up until 2022. Now, I guess prior to this time, sometime within the past 2 years or so, Dr. Roberts came on board as the president of Heritage. He looked at this thing that was out from 1980 that Reagan had done and had accomplished 2/3 of it, that they said, we're going to put this thing on steroids now and actually turn it into something that will actually work. They learned from Reagan. They learned from from Trump's administration, because Trump implemented a lot of the stuff that's in Project 2025, or tried to, but Trump didn't have the full control of the entire executive branch of the government. This Project 2025 from Heritage Foundation, though, puts all of those things and all those little questions that they were unable to accomplish on steroids, folks. They've got a training academy. They've got it all laid out here. They've got it all laid out so that they can go right in and hand over this new conservative president, if the conservative wins in November of 2024, which is next year, less than a year away now. And we're running out of time rapidly to push this thing out. We've got to stop this project, because they've been at this for a long time. They've learned to massage this and make it work for them and get their things across. And now, when they do this Project 2025, this mandate for leadership, when they do this, well, guess what's going to happen? They'll have training academies that's already trained, vetted, tested, and make sure that people can pass security clearances and stuff like that. They'll have all ready to go. They've already got most of the major presidential candidates on the Republican side signed up for this thing. They've already agreed to it. Now, obviously, Trump's not going to read 920 pages of this document. There's no freaking way he'll read that. But he will just take it in there and, these micro learning things in a 10-minute blurb, go up here, right beside your hamburger there, President Trump. I was going to start to say President McDonald. Or is it Kentucky Fried Chicken these days? I don't know which one. Anyway, and that's fine. But so that's what they want to be able to do, is hand this stuff off to willing and able presidents who are conservatives and who agree with most of the stuff that's in this Project 2025 mandate for leadership stuff, hand it over to him or her, or they don't have anything else between on their side. No. We'll talk about gender and sex and all that kind of stuff in a minute. For them, it's either a he and a her, okay? Anyway, I could chase squirrels going down the line for all this kind of stuff, because there's just so many squirrels to chase. And it's really hard to stay focused on any one line of thought sometimes when you read through this garbage that they wrote out. But let me say this, though. This is very well written out. It is very well organized. This thing has got a plan to it. They've brought in right now, as of, let me just see. Let's see what it says on this one. And go over here to policy. Let's see how many organizations are in this so far. Personnel. Let's go with the about side, about Project 2025, the advisory board. Okay, let's see that one. So just a couple of weeks ago, there were 75 organizations, conservative organizations, signed on. They've gained a few more now. They're up to 80. And they started out, this thing was being developed and initially called together. They convened together a bunch of organizations and people, thought leaders over here on this, thought leaders on the conservative side, and, brought them all together. And they, back in April of 2022. So when they did that, they started this process of building it out and got this thing published this year. So if I go back here, this is actually published in 2023 of this year by the Heritage Foundation. So what are we looking at with this thing? Well, if you can go in whenever a conservative president, and it doesn't matter if it's in 2025 or next time around, but this project is going to be handed off to somebody. Okay, and obviously the name will change and the stuff will change, but they'll continue some of these policies moving forward, especially the things they didn't get accomplished, because that's just the way this game works with them. Okay, so anyway, so if a conservative takes over and wins the presidency, January the 20th of 2025 at noon, and says, "So help me God," well, this whole thing will be handed off to that person. This new president, the conservative president, will not have to worry about finding anyone to fill any position across the whole of the executive branch, any of the political appointees. They will not have to worry about any of that. So they'll be given this document because these people will come in there. They'll be ready. They'll just say, hey, look, we got these 10 people trained for that position. We got 10 people. You can pick whichever one you want, or 2 or 3, a list out of 2 or 3. Pick these, and here's a little bit of description about them. We've vetted them already. Here you go. You can take this and run with it. And those people will know this Project 2025 inside and out, folks. And what's in this thing? When they finish their training academy with all of these people, then this document on day 1 of the new presidency is something that you can guarantee, as Justin Wilson said from down in Louisiana, the chef from down there, you can guarantee that they will accomplish this thing. Yes, it will be litigated all over the place. People will sue the crap out of them over all the different things and changes they make. But they know that if they can start on day 1, go in and clean house, get rid of stuff they don't want, clean it all out, get rid of offices and positions that they think are just woke, get rid of all of that stuff. If they can do that from day 1, they'll get something past the litigation. They know that. So this is a shotgun blast of changing the entire executive branch of our federal government. And it's based on this theory. It's called unitary executive theory, basically meaning that the president has the authority to do what he wishes within the executive branch of the government because he's given that authority in the Constitution. But that was something that Reagan's people came up with and never got it implemented. But it's been hanging around out there for a while. But this puts it on steroids. Project 2025 turns over the whole of the executive branch of the U.S. government under the authoritarian leadership of whoever that person is as president. And the first thing that new president will have to do is go in and implement what Trump started. I don't know if you remember this, but Trump actually implemented a thing called Schedule F. And Schedule F allows that president to go in and say, we don't want you. Basically, it's an at-will employment guide for the entire executive branch. And that means you can be fired at will and hired at will. And they're also not going to play around with trying to get a bunch of people through Congress, because they got people who can step in. And with this new way that's been done since, I don't know who actually started, but under Trump, a lot of his positions were acting positions. They'd go in and they were acting director or acting secretary or something like that in those positions until confirmation. So the acting people didn't have to be confirmed by the Senate to be in those positions. They could just go in and step in and do the job. And whether they got confirmed by the Senate or not was not relevant. In other words, that's a way that they're thinking about bypassing the Senate. Now, yeah, sometimes it has to be done. Sometimes it is done. And all administrations do it. It's across the board kind of thing. But they've put it on. They've elevated that to a new level with this. So you've got to check out Project 2025. Go read this darn material. It's 920 pages, but read it chapter by chapter, one chapter at a time. Just check it like that. If you were in our noon show earlier today, then you know that we covered the introduction briefly. I've touched on it a lot over the past several months, because that's really a very terrifying statement, the foreword that was written by Dr. Roberts in Project 2025. That thing is terrifying, folks. It goes against, you talk about the blessings of liberty that the Constitution guarantees to all of us. Well, they actually claim that for the people they don't like, they're not protected by the Constitution, by First Amendment of the Constitution. It's in this. It's in the foreword. You need to check it out. This thing is authoritarian, theocratic, fascist, Christian nationalism. That's what it's about. That is exactly what it's about, folks. All right, so I covered the foreword earlier today at noon. I went up through chapter 4. Chapter 4 ends with the Department of Defense. So we got that covered. We went through there. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going through and looking and doing a search in each one of these chapters for certain keywords to see what they say about those keywords. So we finished out on chapter 4. If you want to get the information about the forward through chapter 4, listen to the recording from earlier today, from noon today, Eastern time, so you can get some of the commentary on that one. So today, though, I want to go into Project 2025, and we're hit chapter 5. But this is where you find it. It's project2025.org. You go into the policy tab up here at the top and you scroll down. Don't buy this darn book. Well, I think it's probably still unavailable. But anyway, you can read the mandate there if you want and get the whole thing downloaded. You can download it. It's free to download. But you can also click out and check on each one of the chapter headings and section headings. You can read right through every single chapter independently and download them independently if you want and read them. But that's what I've done. I went through here and I did the White House, Executive Office of the President, Central Personnel Agencies, and Department of Defense at noon today. And we found a lot of references that have to do with certain keywords like gender, sex, abortion, diversity, equity, inclusion, intersectionality, all those words that really make the conservatives feel some kind of way. I guess, if you're not white enough for them, they want to white. This whole thing is about whitewashing the country, and they think that that's the way that actually is supposed to be done. But I'm going to tell you, if that were true, we would not have all these arguments over, women's rights to vote. Remember? 19th Amendment, we had to fight and struggle for that. People were put in jail for trying to vote as a woman. And then also with the African Americans, when they went out to vote and all that kind of stuff, they got put in jail if they, worse, tried to vote and they weren't authorized to vote. I mean, they took all of that kind of stuff and it kept going forward with it. It hasn't stopped. It's just morphed into another way. But anyway, so let's jump into Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security. That's the next one we want to go into, folks. All right, let's drop out of this and go into Department of Homeland Security. Let me just jump up to the top and increase the size so you can read it better. All right, so up here is a little search button, the little magnifying glass right there. Just click on that, and we're going to type in a word, let's say gender. Let's see how many times the word gender occurs in the Department of Homeland Security, written by Ken Cuccinelli. And if you know who Ken Cuccinelli is, right? I think he was the former governor of Virginia at one time. All right, so there's no references to gender in this one. How about sex? No references to sex. Let's go with, let's see, abortion. No references to abortion in this one. All right, so the next thing we want to look at would be, let's see, diversity, Diversity. Okay, there are two references to diversity in this one. The first one right here, let me see, the incoming administration should spearhead an immigration legislative agenda focused on creating a merit-based immigration system that rewards high-skilled aliens instead of the current system that favors the extended family-based and luck of the draw immigration. To that end, the diversity visa lottery should be repealed. Well, no, actually, that's been the foundation of every bit of the growth in this country from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, Jefferson was opposed to having all these people come in. Hamilton supported it. Hamilton supported, let all your people come on in. Anyone who doesn't want to be in your country, regardless of their status or whatever, let them come in and they can do and build and create and build their lives as they wish. And boy, they did come in. They came in quickly. But Jefferson didn't like those people because, they were the lower class people from Europe and other places around the world. The lower class, the economically challenged ones and all those people, they came in. They built this country. And many of them built enormously successful businesses over time for themselves and their families and their progeny. Those people, as Hamilton said, actually had a deep commitment to the country, more so than someone who would come in and buy their way in. This conservative approach is a method of buying your way in. If you've got a high enough income, you can get in. If you've got high-valued skill, merit-based, you can get in. But they don't want anybody out here luck of the draw. They just want the cream of the crop from all the other countries. But I'm going to tell you, some of those people come into a place like the United States and have nothing in their country, and here they see this golden opportunity to build their own lives from their own sweat and tears. And they are more appreciative of this country than any other group would be who had to buy their way in. It's just the way it is. And Hamilton knew that. And Jefferson was he was smart. He was a polymath. He was smart, but he didn't like that because that would affect his agrarian lifestyle down in Virginia. Let's see what the other reference is to diversity in here. Personnel. Okay. It's facing recruitment challenges similar to those faced by the military services. Administration should stop messaging on wokeness and diversity and focus instead on attracting the best talent for U.S. What are we looking at? That's the Coast Guard? I think that's Coast Guard. Okay, yeah. We're in Homeland Security, Coast Guard. Well, no. We need to be representative of our country and our people. And to kick aside this, the wokeness that you're talking about, that they talk about here, Ken Cuccinelli mentions here in this Homeland Security chapter. Well, you're going to, you need diversity of opinion, diversity of views and ideas. And yes, the people coming in, by the way, they do have high standards and high merit. They are merit-based to get in there to start out with. No standards have been changed, period. It's just that we're focusing to make sure that those who have been discriminated against in the past don't face that same kind of discrimination going forward. But the merits required to achieve that haven't changed. We're just making sure that we have a representative pool of people aren't being dismissed or not accepted into these services because of some other condition that they have no control over. So this kind of stuff here is just dog whistling to the far extreme right, deep ditch people with their heads stuck up their behind. Okay. I don't think there's much more over here in any of this stuff. It talks about Secret Service and everything like that here in the Homeland Security section, budget, personnel. You can read through and pick out all the details, whatever you want to read. So that is chapter 5, folks. Now let's go over and look at chapter 6. Okay, this is chapter 6. Let's scroll to the top of chapter 6. Chapter 6, Department of State, written by Karen K. Skinner. So let's do my little search option up here. And diversity is the first one. There's only one reference to diversity in this whole thing about the chapter 6, Department of State. Or is this Homeland Security? No, wait, what are we looking at? The Department of State. Okay, that's what I thought. Right there it is. Okay. Key program. Let me see what this paragraph's talking about. Evaluation of national security vulnerable visa programs to protect the American people. The State Department, in coordination with the White House and other security-focused agencies, should evaluate several key security-sensitive visa programs that it manages. Key programs include, but should not be limited to, the diversity visa program, the F student visa. Okay, so that's what this is all about. Now let's see if they actually talk about, anything else. Let's put sex in there. No references to sex in this document. Let's go with gender. Nope, no reference to gender. How about diversity? I already did that one already. So let's go with LGBT. Oh, look at that. All right, there is something in here. There's one reference to LGBT. And we're talking about, what is this one? Counter the furtherance of terrorism. Build a coalition, collaborative. Okay, focus on core diplomatic activities and stop promoting policies birthed in the American culture wars. Oh, shoot. Let me tell you something. Do you think Nazism actually started in Europe? Do you think eugenics started in Europe, which was part of the Nazi thing eventually at some point? No, it started right here. We exported it. Germany and Hitler and a whole bunch fell in love with that. They thought that was great. I mean, they were anti-Semitic already. Now you had this whole idea about, fascism. We exported our thinking into that country. They bought it. Then we had to fight them because they just went all berserk. But we started the darn thing. All right. African nations are particularly and reasonably no. Oh my God. Okay. All right. African nations are particularly and reasonably non-receptive to the U.S. social policies such as abortion and pro-LGBT initiatives. You know why that is? Anyone, can you tell me why that is? Can you? Well, I'll tell you. Do you know who Rick Warren is? Preacher, megachurch, evangelical. People like him take their messages of hate, they call it love, but it's hate. Just ask the people it impacts. That's hate. All right. Don't worry about what he thinks it is. It's because the impact of what he says is hate, is hateful. I don't care how many times he says, I love you in Christ. He's full of shit too. Anyway, so African nations are particularly and reasonably non-receptive to U.S. social policies such as abortion and pro-LGBT initiatives being imposed on them. Rick Warren is the cause for those things. Rick Warren and other preachers and evangelicals that are going into Africa and telling them, don't become like the United States. We got all this pro-LGBT stuff going on over there. And it goes against our strict understanding of what Christ did and said, when in fact it doesn't. But, you know, this stuff has been preached in those nations for so long now. 30, 40, 50 years with missionaries going in, everybody like that. They're trying to turn Africa in what they wanted the U.S. to be. But now with this document, Project 2025, they're actually going to try to turn the U.S. back into what they think it should be. And the Christian nationalists are the ones doing it. The Dominionists, those people, the evangelicals, they're the ones doing this to this country. They're the ones going after it. But they're trying to make us look like, you know, all that extreme hatred that there is over there in Nigeria and Kenya and Ghana and different countries in Africa. They're taking that same exact hatred that was, pushed upon them from American evangelicals when their misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the words of God, quote, then they impose that stuff on somebody else. And when they go full bore into it, and then it becomes a big problem, we have to go deal with it somehow or the other. But no, we started the crap with them. All right. That just pisses me off. The United States. Okay. Oh, this is lovely. This is a lovely statement right here, folks. The United States should focus on core security, economic, and human rights engagement with African partners and reject the promotion of divisive policies that hurt the deepening of shared goals between the United States and its African partners. Well, let me tell you something there. Who wrote this section? Let me go up the top and look. Who wrote this one? Oh, Kieran Skinner. Okay, let me go back down here. Well, let me tell you something there, Skinner. Let me tell you. Why don't you just go start talking to Rick Warren and all those other evangelicals who have absolutely polluted Africa with all the crap, religious crap that we have here in the United States, all the vile hatred for anybody who doesn't look like them? Sure. You're going to see a rise in racism in those countries, and not from whites, but you're going to see it from black people and white people probably too. I mean, it's always been there. That kind of stuff happens all the time. But you're going to see a rise in that kind of stuff and an increased push towards anti-LGBT stuff all across the region of Africa, the whole continent. Okay. But this is what's the funny part right here. The United States should focus on core security, economic, and human rights engagement. Well, they just got done saying up here is not receptive to social policies about abortion and pro-LGBT initiatives, as if LGBT people aren't deserving of human rights. That's what that says. It's on the same paragraph. Okay, so let's see what else is in here, folks. Let's see if we can get riled up on anything else. That's exactly what they said here. And they actually repeat that. It's actually said in the forward in very clear terms. All right. Any other thing we need to be looking for up here? I did look for diversity already. So I think that's it probably in the Department of State. So let me get rid of Department of State and let's jump over to the next chapter. Whoops, wrong direction. Let's go right there. Oh, no, right here. Go up to the top. This is chapter 7. Intelligence Community, written by Dustin J. Carmack. Okay. Let's do the same search in this one. Anything with LGBT in it? No. Nope, there's no LGBT stuff in here. Let's put sex in here. Nope, nothing about sex in chapter 7. No, about gender. Oop, misspelled it. Nope, nothing about gender. How about diversity? Nothing about diversity. So chapter 7 is pretty empty. Let's try abortion just to be sure. Divisive. Let's go look up. What was that? Yes. Diverse. Recruit diverse sets of individuals. Okay, wait. Look right here something. Oh, okay. In addition, let's just start at the top of this paragraph, okay? In addition, the president should task the director with significantly broadening recruitment, expediting onboarding practices. Let's let the CIA handle that. You don't need to be dictating to them how they can get the people that best suits what they need. Come on. And shifting resources away from headquarters, including terminal generalists, GS-15s, when OPM buyouts, forced rotations, or up and out personnel policies are set for particular positions. Okay. The CIA must find creative ways to align mission recruitment with hiring needs, recruit diverse sets of individuals with unique backgrounds. Oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. It's not just backgrounds, and become more open to hiring private sector experts directly into senior positions. So in addition, the director should break the cabal of bureaucrats in D.C. by permanently moving various directorates, such as support science and technology, out of Virginia and possibly open campuses outside of D.C. where analysts and other experts could contribute virtually. Okay, so let's go back up to this. Doesn't this sound like very hypocritical to you? They're going to go in here and recruit diverse sets of individuals with unique backgrounds. Well, yeah. Can you just go put a huge question mark over this thing? Can I draw on this? Yeah, I probably can. Let me just do it like this. I think that's funny. I don't know about you. But after all this talk, and they decided, hey, in this case, we want to have diverse individuals. Why? Because, there are different people around the world who don't necessarily look like us, and we may need to actually go, do some human intelligence gathering. Yeah, that's all right in this case, though. You don't want just a merit-based individual, right? This is different, right? Okay, hypocrites. That's what I've got to say about that one. Let me see if I can find my little marker again now. I don't want to erase anything. Okay. Oh, it did erase it. That's cool. Ask the co-pilot? No, I don't want to ask the co-pilot anything. So let's go back over to... Oh, it's weird to look through this one. This is chapter 7. There's nothing in this one. This was the intelligence community that talks about gender, sex, sexuality, or LGBT stuff. We checked through there. So let's go look at, I'm just going to leave. All right, now the next chapter. Let's see which one this is, folks. Here we go. We're going to take a look at this one. Go to the top of the page. And this is chapter 8, media agencies, like U.S. Agency for Global Media, written by Maura Namdar. Mission statement, they got all that in here. Okay, overview. All right, they talk about what these, that's one of the cool things about this document is they actually talk about what their mission statements are for those different departments or agencies or secretariats or whatever you want to call them. They actually talk about that, and that's pretty cool, right? All right, so diverse. Let's see. 2 references to diverse in here. Open Technology Fund's goal. Okay. Open Technology Fund's goal is to provide funding. Let's just go right at the top. Funding to support the research, development, implementation of internet freedom technologies that circumvent censorship. Open Technology Funds was formed under dubious circumstances by using consolidation of rules to usurp the mission and funding of USAGM's pre-existing Office of Internet Freedom, which funded far more diverse technologies. Okay, so it's not really something we need to worry too much about. Let's go on down to the next one. And it's also talking about more diverse and robust technologies. So let's see if there's anything about sex in this anywhere. Nope. Gender. Nope. How about diverse? Talk about diverse right there. LGBT. LGBT. Nope. So this document doesn't have any of those triggers that I look for in here trying to find what's going on in the document. Let's go to abortion just to be clear. Abortion's not in there either. All right. So next chapter. This one is, well, we just looked at chapter on that one. Maybe I have it up there twice. All right. Media. Last chapter we're going to look at today. The last chapter will be Chapter 9, Agency for International Developments. Okay. Let's increase the size so you can see it more clearly. Max Primorak. Okay, let's go back and start looking. What do we have in here? Let's go look for gender. Oh, look at there. Gender is mentioned 29 times in this particular document. Let's see where we're at here again. Agency for International Development. This one is particularly grievous, people, because there's a lot of stuff in here that ties back to stuff that I thought had disappeared, had been swept under the rug. And I'll tell you about it in just a second when we get to this. So let's go down here. This first reference to gender. The Biden administration has deformed the agency. Let me just put it like this. The Biden administration has deformed the agency by treating it as a global platform to pursue overseas a divisive political and cultural agenda. The first thing is, it's only divisive because it hurts their feelings in the Heritage Foundation. That's the only reason it's divisive, because they're the ones feeling like they're being offended against an offense against them. Well, come on. If it's hurting your feelings, folks, come on, grow up. That promotes abortion, climate extremism, gender radicalism, and interventions against perceived systemic racism. All right. That one is full of crap from the beginning to the end. Okay, so abortion is a woman's right to choose, or at least it should be. What on earth do you have to tell someone? What gives you the right to tell some woman they can't control their body? They don't have bodily autonomy. Really? I personally don't agree with it. I would never do something like that, but I'm going to tell you, I'm also not going to tell someone that they don't have the right to choose and to select as they wish, how they wish to. The bodily autonomy part, the freedom that comes with having control of your own body. Really? No. So yeah, offer it if you want. Climate extremism? No, the climate is actually in dire straits, folks. If you don't believe it, pull your head out of the sand again. That's all I got to tell you. And out of your behind, or the other person in front of you feeding this bullshit about extremism. No, we need to protect our environment, and the climate is changing rapidly. And why? Well, it is human-centered. It's human-centric to a large degree. But yes, people are going to look at it and go, yes, this stuff's happened all the time. It's happened in the past. Yes, it has. Very cyclic. The only thing is, it's happening far faster now. The occurrence of these types of events is happening far faster outside of the sequence of normal patterns that have been observed down through time. Okay. Anyway, and gender radicalism. No, everybody has a gender, including you. You also have a genetic sex and an anatomical sex. Okay. But you also have a gender, and that basically means that that's how you express your view of yourself to those around you. And yeah, it's culturally driven in a lot of cases. Of course it is. But, radicalism, no. All right. Let's see what the next one is. Here we go. Next one. Climate change. Okay. Upon taking office, President Biden issued, let me just start here. To put the climate crisis at the center of U.S. foreign policy and national security, and mitigate the devastating inequalities that intersect with gender, race, and ethnicity, and economic security. All right. Let's go on down to the next one. You have to lump everything all together. That way, that's the only way you can get your point across. If you can say that one thing is a bad thing, this is how this works, folks. If A and B, then C. That's what they're trying to convince you of. But there's no, come on. Well, number 3. USAID often ties DEI to gender and climate equity, of course, as they should. Okay, go on down. Refocusing gender equality on women, children, and families. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Okay. Instead of protecting women's and children's unalienable human rights and propelling their ability to thrive in society, past Democratic administrations have nearly erased what females are and what femininity is through gender. Bullshit. They have gender too. We have a gender. You have a gender. We all have a gender and an gender expression. Gender is not the same as sex. Gender is not the same as anatomical sex. Gender is not the same as genetic sex. They are different. Yeah, there was a time when they were the same, but we know more now. We know more. We've known more for several decades, actually. Jeez. But one of the biggest parts about this thing is this unalienable human rights right here, meaning rights that cannot be removed from you because they are yours as an individual. But in fact, no right is inalienable. It can be taken away from you in a heartbeat. And all you have to do is legislate it away or legislate and take it and give it to you. That's all the way. That's it. There are no inalienable human rights. That's just a euphemism that actually has been perpetuated down through time and even in our documents, in our founding documents in this country. There's been a lot of debates about that, but there's no such thing as inalienable human rights. You'll have to go fight for what you think you deserve. Okay, gender policies and practices. For instance, administrations have diluted USAID's focus on assisting vulnerable women, children, and families around the globe, adding protections for an ideological advocacy on behalf of progressive social interest groups. No, we're just trying to make sure we protect all people and not just those who you want to protect. I'm sorry. If you don't feel good about that, that's on you. USAID now aggressively promotes abortion on demand under the guise of sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights, gender equality, and women's empowerment, and advocates for those who claim minority status or vulnerability, as they should. Families are the basic unit of and foundation for a thriving society. Yeah, but they have a particular definition of what a family is. We can all agree to that families are one of those basic units, is one of the core things about a society. But when you ask what family means, you'll find out that these people, Roberts and Rufo and Walsh and Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller, all these wackos out there, they have a definition of family that only states it this way. It's a man, a woman, and children. They don't include single parents in that. They don't include LGBT parents in that. They don't include any of those things. Those other types of family definitions, they don't have First Amendment protections. That's what Robert says up there in the foreword of this document, folks. He says it right there. Okay. And yeah, wow, this is a truism like you ever heard one, right? Without women, there are no children, and society cannot continue. Okay, so more than half the world consists of women. It's actually about 51% or something like that now of the population of the entire world is female or woman. Okay, as evidenced by the confirmation testimony of now Associate Justice Cassandra Brown Jackson, the progressive left has so misused and altered the definition of what a woman is that one of our U.S. Supreme Court justices was unable to delineate clearly the fundamental biological sexual traits that define the group of which she is part. It's not that she couldn't define it, it's just you couldn't hear it. Your ears were closed and your eyes had scales over them. Your ears were plugged and your eyes had scales on them. You couldn't see. If she told you what it was, what those differences were, you were unable to hear it because you aren't mature enough to handle that. All right. So, USAID cannot advocate for and protect women when they have been erased globally, along with the values and traditions of and traditional structures that have supported them. Drivel, bing, 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 bing. Bad stuff. Crazy. Okay. Let's go on down to the next one about gender. The next conservative administration. Here we go. The next conservative administration should rename the USAID Office of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment as the USAID Office of Women, Children, and Families. Remember the definition for a family is here, folks. These people don't have your definition of families. That single mom out there, or the single dad raising a family, or other family structures, of step parents, significant others. Those aren't families, according to these people. You don't have any First Amendment protections. Refocus and realign resources that currently support programs in the GEWE to the Office of Women and Children and Families. Redesignate the senior gender coordinator as an unapologetically pro-life, politically appointed senior coordinator in the Office of Women, Children, and Families, and eliminate the more than 180 gender advisors and points of contact embedded in missions and operating units throughout the agency. Phew. They got a thing for people that just, don't look like them, act like them, think like them, believe like them. In other words, they're authoritarian, theocratic, fascist, Christian nationalists. In addition, oh my God, this whole section is covered in words like gender. Okay. And I haven't even taken the chance yet to look and see if there's any comments over there. And if you've commented, I don't have a separate screen for comments. I probably ought to do that. That might help. But anyway, in addition, the next conservative administration should rescind President Biden's 2022 gender policy and refocus it on women, family, and children. Revise the agency's regulation on integrating gender equality and female empowerment in USAID's program cycle. It should remove all references, examples, definitions, photos, and language on USD websites and agency publications and policies and in all agency contracts and grants that include the following terms, folks. This is what Dr. Roberts said. Here it is stated again. Gender, one they want to remove, okay? Gender equality, gender equity, gender diversity, individuals, gender diverse individuals, gender aware, gender sensitive, etc. It should also remove references to abortion, reproductive health, and sexual and reproductive rights, and controversial sex education materials. Okay. In the past, this is, oh my God. In the past, gender was a polite alternative to the word sex and the term biological sex. The past is the past, Dr. Roberts. Grow up, son. We know more now. We've known more for several decades that gender and sex are not the same. But, I mean, you want to roll this whole country all the way back to 1850. I know that's your goal. Really is. But yeah, these two are different. And yeah, that's a true statement. This is a true statement. In the past, the word gender was a polite alternative to the word sex. But the past that you're missing, that you don't even talk about, is the fact that this was pre-1940 or 1930 even, probably. Okay, the left has commandeered the term gender. Whew. Oh my God, the left has commandeered the term gender, which used to be either male or female, to include a spectrum of others who are seeking to alter biological and societal sexual norms. No, we haven't commandeered it. We haven't commandeered the term at all. We just accept the realities of science. Grow up. The promotion of gender radicalism is anathema to the traditional norms of many societies where USAID works, causes resentment by tying life-saving assistance to rejecting the aid recipient's own firmly held fundamental values regarding sexuality, and produces unnecessary consternation, confusion among, and even outright bias against men. Oh my God. Ensel much? Ensels? Is that it? Ensels? And celibate is where it comes from, I think. And celibate, something like that. Yeah, these people are wackos. writing this. But they're serious about this stuff, folks. If a conservative takes the White House, guess what they will do? This. And Trump's not going to read this whole thing. He's going to hand it off to somebody and say, you see to it that this gets done. Okay, so let's go down and find all the rest of these. I already did those. And we're going to get rid of all those words. We just looked at that. Let's go on down. There and there and there. Where's the next one? In gender, that's not the word, gender ideology. Oh, today, USAID officials and their progressive partners have resisted efforts to promote religious freedom, especially as it relates to abortion and gender ideology. Well, for one thing, you get to choose your religion. Someone's body belongs to them. Bodily autonomy is completely that person's responsibility, not yours, not your religion, not your ideologies. No. Gender is, everybody has a gender, including all of you right there in the Heritage Foundation, which are anathema to traditional societies where USAID funds programs. And I bet you $1 that most of those traditional societies, or those societies that they're talking about, they have expressions in their communities that talk about other genders and also different types of sexuality. All of them do. All of them. Some of them may kill you if you express it, but that's their ideology speaking there. But everybody has a gender. All right. And let me see. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken repudiated his predecessor's focus on religious freedom. That's because it's an asinine argument, but it's something that touches people right in the feels, okay? It really does. Let's go see. What's the next one down through here for gender? Oh, look here. Localization is a buzzword within the aid community, but correctly assumes that more funding through local organization produces better aid outcomes. And that's true. It's a buzzword, but it's been around longer than this thing has been around, because I've been involved with localization efforts for, I remember actually looking at this word probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It's been around for a little while. I think it's past the buzzword stage. Okay, shifting from giant US-based implementers has proved difficult to achieve. However, given intense internal bureaucratic resistance, opposition from the aid industrial complex, foot dragging, especially faith-based NGOs prominent in Africa and Latin America, as obstacles to promoting abortion, gender radicalism, climate extremism, and other woke ideas. These people have got it in for people who actually aren't like them, folks. Let's go on down. Gender-based activities. Okay, shit. Like all U.S. federal bodies, DFC, and DFC would be development agencies, okay, should be restored to its original intent of developing its commercial risk-reducing financial services instead of its current misuse as another global vehicle to promote economy-killing climate programs, meet irrelevant diversity objectives, and over-focus on low-impact or misguided gender-based activities. Want to retain power in just one single hand? Well, look, you can do that. You sure can. You're wrong. You're stupid wrong. But anyway. The Bureau is let's see, where are we? Oh, Bureau of Democracy Development and Innovation Administration. The Bureau of Democracy Development and Innovation is the home for most of the agency's non-health, non-humanitarian funding, as well as almost all of its sectoral appropriations directives, including those that reflect the pet projects of individual members of Congress. The Bureau is the policy and financial nexus at USAID, for most of the Biden administration's radical priorities in foreign assistance, including gender, climate, and promotion of identity-based politics. On the positive side, oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, they just have big bad hurt. They're really hurt that, we tell them they have a gender, but that is different from their genetic sex and their anatomical sex. They don't always have to align. Let's go on down. 26. Here we go again. Gender, diversity, and inclusion. Let me see. The administration should appoint a senior accountable official. In other words, what do you call it in the Soviet Union? A political political officer. Yeah, every submarine in the Soviet Union had a political officer on board. That's what they're doing here. That's what this is, senior accountable official. In other words, a political officer to make sure that everything that comes out of the product of and the thinking of that particular organization or office is politically acceptable. Okay. Whew. To report on the agency's adherence, see, to the administration policy priorities, including on protecting life and foreign assistance, critical race theory, going after everything, folks. Just want to put it right here. Climate change, gender diversity, inclusion. It should also create a program to staff hard to fill positions overseas. Geez, okay. Geez, so what else we got here? We've got 4 more to go, and then we'll be top of the hour again. Oh my gosh, that's the bottom down here. Where are we? Back to number 1. Okay. So that was chapter 9, Agency for International Development by Max Primorik. I think, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not. Probably not. But anyway, that's Primorik. Okay. So it's about 4 minutes till the top of the hour. It'll be 1 hour talking about all this stuff. And I hope it was helpful to you, because that shows you basically how I go about running through this whole thing and just seeing what's going on in it. You can do that chapter by chapter or a whole document at a time, however you want to do it. But chapter by chapter actually gives you a good preview of what they want done within that department. Yeah, check it out. This thing's horrifying. Let me stop sharing, go back over here. Let's drop this page out of the way so I can come and see you. Thanks for watching wherever you might be. Appreciate you. Again, this is Cassandra Williamson with the Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, and the opinions are mine and mine alone. Say that again. So with that, I was going to go look at Twitter, but we'll do it later. Do it a different day. Twitter's fun. Twitter's fun. All right. So let me just go ahead and do this. I'm going to go out. Have a great evening, everyone. See you tomorrow at noon Eastern or 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Thursday.